Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to Madrid, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The last decade of the 20th century was characterized by heavy criticism from a number of social actors in Iceland on the system of parental leave. Mainly it was said that the leave was too short, it was only 6 months, that the economic compensation was too low, there was no flexibility regarding the uptake, there were different rights on the public and the private labor market, and finally that it was not in accordance with modern ideas about gender equality, since only mothers made use of it, even though it was in principle divisible between the parents. And in spring 2000, radical reforms were suggested by the sitting centre-right government. The main changes were as follows. The leave was extended from 6 months to 9 months, and flexibility was introduced. Parents have 18 months to use their rights, and the leave can be taken in fragments or with part-time work. That has to be decided in negotiation with individual employers. Economic compensation was related to wages, so that a parent on leave is entitled to 80% of salary. But those who are outside the labor market or in part-time work receive minimum payments. An employee cannot be fired after informing the employer of his or her intentions of taking parental leave, and of course not while actually on parental leave. And the parent on leave continues to accumulate social rights in the same way as if he or she had been working. The 9 months were divided into 2 3-month periods, 3 months for the father, 3 months for the mother, on a strict non-transferable basis. The 3 remaining months could be used by the parents as they thought best. The only exception to the non-transferability was if either the mother or the father died before he or she had used his rights, then the remaining time could be transferred to the remaining parent. And of course, heterosexual and homosexual couples have exactly the same rights. Then a special parental leave was established, parental leave fund was established to administer the system, and the fund receives its income through a part of the insurance levy paid by all employers. The stated goals were mainly 4: to increase the participation of fathers in childcare, to improve the position of women on the labor market, to increase fertility, and to improve the economic situation of families with children. Prior to 1997, the Icelandic parental leave was only 6 months long, and the economic compensation was flat rate and very low. The leave was in principle divisible between the parents. In reality, only around 0.3% of fathers made use of a part of it. In 1997, fathers got the right to 2 weeks paternal leave immediately after the birth, and at least a third of them made use of it. Then came the new law, and in 2001, 82.4% of fathers made use of the right, and in 2008, which is the last year that we have final figures for, it was up to 90.9%. The extension of the leave came in steps, and it were the fathers who had to wait. They got their first month in 2001, the second in 2002, and from 2003 they have had 3 months of non-transferable rights. And on average, they used the number of days allotted to them. When they had 1 month, they used on average 39 days. When they had 2 months, the use rose to 68 days, and when they received the 3rd month, the average number of days rose to 97. And in 2008, it was up to 103 days. Around 20% of fathers use some part of the shareable time, and around 16% do not make full use of their time. Mothers, on the average, use around 180 days. That is the 3 months that only they can use and the 3 shareable months. And this confirms experience from other countries, namely that a period that is shareable becomes a period for the mother. Now, averages can hide a great deal. This shows the percentage of parents that use more than the period that only they can use. Around 90% of mothers use more than 3 months. The percentage of fathers that use more than their period has increased somewhat from 11% to 23%. And here we have the percentage that does not make full use of their rights. And as you can see, very few mothers do not use 3 months. On the other hand, the percentage of fathers that did not use all of their rights increased as their rights increased, up to almost 25% in 2005, but then started to drop again and is now around 17%. The new law has enjoyed popular support in Iceland. It was adopted unanimously in the parliament and not a single politician has voiced any opposition. Opinion polls show 85% to over 90% of the population supporting the law. Women are slightly more positive than men, and younger people are more positive than the older. The social group that tends to be most negative are the employers, but still 74% of them are positive towards the law. And studies indicate that the law has contributed to a closer relationship between fathers and children, to a diminished gap regarding positions on the labor market, to a greater understanding among men regarding how much work it is to take care of a child. And even though employers tend to be the social group that is most negative towards the law, parents usually meet positive reactions when they tell their employer that they intend to use their parental leave. 73.1% of fathers met positive reactions and 86.4% of mothers. So you see that there is still more opposition to the use by fathers than by mothers. The law has obviously contributed to increased fertility, so that from the low point of 1.93 children, we are now up to 2.22, which means that we have a sustainable fertility, one of the few nations in Europe where that is the case, if not the only one. So have we been successful? The financial situation of families with children has clearly improved. Icelandic fathers are more active in the caretaking of their children than they have ever been before. There are clear indications that the gap between the situation of men and women on the labor market has diminished, and fertility clearly yes. Now, the financial crisis in Iceland has meant that several cuts have been made in the economic compensation, but it remains to be seen what effects that will have. However, we should note that not a single politician has so far suggested a change in the general structure of the system. If you need any further information, you can access it on this website, and you are also welcome to contact me at this email. So thank you very much.